Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Munson Steed. Welcome to Meet the Author. There are industries that have huge giants that go to sleep permanently, that is, and never share the wisdom and insight on what it takes to actually be a star, make a star, be present, be an understanding of what it is to be in the moment, to make history, to add trust from those Billboard #1 hit makers, from those individuals who can see talent, describe to talent how to become a star, a superstar, or even a mogul in this business. There are very few who have seen the careers of highlight superstars. Mary J. Blige, #1 hit maker. Alicia Keys, multi hyphenated artist. R.I.P. Whitney Houston and Michael Jackson. None of these things exist if there hadn't been for the one who gave voice to their creativity, gave insight to how to position themselves and become. That one individual is the one and the only. And with his new book, he'll tell us about. Angelo, how are you?
I'm blessed, man. How are you today?
I am phenomenal. Thanks for taking this time to hang out with us here, meet the author. You've created a blueprint for the genius in understanding what it is to be a trusted servant to amplify through double exposure, which I always thought was one of the dopest PR brands, voice brands, artist brands, creative brands in New York City, LA, and the world.
Thank
Just
you.
how did you come up with that name for this guidepost and became a trusted post for celebrities?
You know, the name Double Exposure was not created by Angelo Ellerbee. It was created by a young and very talented intern that was working for me some 45 years ago. We were sitting up talking about what we were going to do. I was just leaving James M. Tume. I started M. Tume's company and I outgrew myself. And so I said, okay, I started in the basement of M. Tume's house. Now I'm going to go to the basement of my mother's house. And I'm going to create what would be a public relations company. And I had nothing but interns because I had no money. I was flat broke, didn't know nothing about where to get money from, but I was full of vigor and I was full of ambition and I was full of just wanting to be a success for my family. And so I went in the garage and took out my mother's dining room table. Then what I did is I brought it down in the basement and I had what was a team phone. And that team phone, it was no call waiting, it was no nothing. It was a team phone. That's what I could afford. And I began to go down a list of people that I've known in the music industry as dance artists, club artists. So I did the Jocelyn Browns and the Sybil's and the Blazes and all of these people. And I had to create something different for them because they were totally unaware of what a publicist was. M2May gave me the wherewithals is to understand the popularity of a publicist and the importance of a publicist. So I did no more than spring that back on them by educating them and stimulating them about the awareness of how important a publicist is for them. And so I began to deal with all of those people in New Jersey from my mother's basement. I did eventually hire someone that I had to pay. And it was so funny, man. You're making me really remember the funny side of me growing in this industry. This is one girl that worked for me. Her name was Kathy. And Kathy would come in at 10 o'clock in the morning and work until about 11 o'clock at night. Then there was a young man that everybody may know by the name of Vincent Herbert. Vincent used to come and he used to take my mail to the post office, sweep up the basement floor. Then his brother came, and his brother was John. John would come and do the same thing. So it was all a community effort. And they understood what I was trying to do and why I was feeding them with, particularly for Vincent, I was feeding him the wherewithal how to be successful in the music industry. Well, as time goes on, I think he can teach me some things at this particular point. But we all as a community working together trying to make a difference in our community. We wanted to show the world that we have the extra ingredients to be great, not just to be great, but to be greater, not just to be greater, but to be the greatest that we wanted to do in our chosen professions. And I worked extremely, extremely hard. of trying to bring together this community. But then I got a call from a gentleman out of New York City who asked me, he was working for Chrysalis Records, and he asked me to come to work for Chrysalis. I thought it was a joke, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. He said, well, it's not gonna be a lot of money. It's like $40,000 a year. And I was like, yeah, I'm looking up in the ceiling at this point because I thought it was a joke. So there was a young publicist, the VP of Chrysalis Records. Her name was Frances Pennington. And if Frances Pennington didn't hate every inch of my guts, she hated every inch of my guts because I was coming in. You got to remember, this was early 80s. Black people are not supposed to be intelligent. They're not supposed to be smart. They're not supposed to know their craft. They're not supposed to know any of these things. You're just gonna come and follow me. And Angelo Ellerbee is not the one that just followed you. My mother created a leader, and that's what I was gonna do. I was gonna lead. But also, I want your listeners and followers to understand back in that day and time, there was a separation of what was Black music and what was mainstream music. And I always thought music was music, but it was like society, there was segregation within the music industry. There was separation within the music industry. And so thus we had a Black music division and we had a mainstream. Now, you could not, as a Black person, go inside of the mainstream marketing meetings. You just wasn't going to do that. You could stay on your side of the street with your Black music. And so at that time, we had not many artists on the Black side. We had Gang Starr. We had a guy by the name of Roland who had a lot of club hits. That was it. And so my job was to bring some kind of awareness to these two artists. And my thing was, I remember Billy Woodruff. I don't know if you remember Billy Woodruff, but he's an incredible director today. I said, Billy, I have this project and it's Gang Starr. And if you know Billy and you know me, we were like petrified to even want to go and do this music video. But we went to do the video and it was up in Harlem. And we were petrified to get out of the car to go to this place where we were going to meet and greet them. And so once we went inside, we got a chance to understand them and know them and understand what they wanted to do. And I accepted the job after meeting them. Then I had a boss at that point. I will never ever mention the person's name. They wanted a percentage of my salary. And okay, so I'm gullible to a point. All right, I want to be in. I want to do what I need to do. And so thus I did that. But they also did some other things within the format of Chrysalis Records that was not necessarily digestible to Gang Starr. And got a little rowdy there, if you understand what I'm saying. They were supposed to receive A, B, C, and D. They didn't receive it from this person. So they came up there 40 deep to get an understanding, if you understand what I'm saying. And it was hell on the 31st floor. And they kept calling me, say, Angelo, you got to come down. You got to come down. See, let me get you to understand something. I'm coming from James M. Tumay, the two-time Grammy Award winner. I'm now working with, the Sybil's and the Joe Mandas and the Jocelyn Browns. So I'm set in my way of grandeur. Then when I came there and I accepted the job, they told me that I would be in the Black music division. And it was a cubicle. I wasn't sitting in no cubicle. You will have to find me an office, right? They said, Angelo, there is no offices. You have to sit in the cubicle. So I got up and I went around, I went to the executive floor. And going to the executive floor, I looked around, I introduced myself to everybody that was up there. And that lady, Frances Pennington's office was almost adjacent to where I was going to be sitting. So there's this big, tall German guy. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know he was a co-chairman of Chrysalis Records. He was just another person to me. So he says, so who are you? And I went to tell him who I was. He said, oh, welcome aboard, da, 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 da. He said, so what are you trying to do? I said, I'm trying to find a place to sit, with a door, office. And he said, oh, you can sit over there. That's what Chris, he only comes here once a year. You could sit there. So I positioned myself on the executive floor, sitting in the chairman's office. That didn't sit well with those people on that floor. Neither did it sit well with the people downstairs. But this co-chairman and I became very good friends, and he wanted me to entertain that office. Well, man, I was working so very hard for this company. And every night he would always be there until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And my smarts was like, I need to be here till 9 or 10 o'clock at night, even though I lived in Newark and I had to either catch a train in a cab back home. I stayed there. And so he said to me one day, after maybe 7 months, he says, what kind of money do you make? And I told him what kind of money. He said, what? I said, yeah. He says, I want you to start to come over to the mainstream meetings. So I went to the meetings. I went to one particular meeting and it was colder than a refrigerator. They said, you're in the wrong meeting. I said, no, I was invited to this meeting. They said, who invited you? And I said who it was. And he walked in. So they had an artist by the name of Pat Benatar. And this gentleman had told me to work on some ideas for Pat Benatar and that he wanted me to introduce these ideas in front of the mainstream. And I did. And he agreed with me. And the president, I think it was John Sykes, was the president. And they all agreed that this is what needs to take place. Okay, so now that's what the hateration came in at. Because how is this Black man going to come up in my white meeting, my mainstream meeting, and start to dictate to me what needs to be happening with my pop artists? That was the beginning of my career. I eventually left Chrysalis and I was walking down this. No, I met this gentleman by the name of Doug Breitbart. And Doug was an attorney at law and he was a manager for one of the artists that I was working with, Roland, who had a lot of the club hits. So he said, Anto, I have an office, I have a space that you can work in, about work out of. And I said, okay. So my business was still taking place in Newark. And now I get my feel for New York City. And I just started, man, from scratch with nothing, but a whole lot of belief and a whole lot of faith in me, because my mother grounded me to understand that she had made no failures in life and it wasn't going to start with her last mourn. So I started to do, it was a young lady by the name of Karen Taylor and she was my intern. I paid her nothing. And she knew she wasn't getting paid anything because I wasn't making anything. And we would do all of these storyboards, these things here, and boom, I'm walking down the street one day and I saw this place that said 2,500 square feet. And I said, oh, that's what I want. But I was smart enough not to know that I couldn't bring my Black body up in this white establishment, knowing that it was an Italian. I called my Italian friend, who was a lawyer. His name was Ed Toptani. He went upstairs. Now, you got to understand, my birth name is Angelo Antonio Ellerbee, right? This was an Italian restaurant. I knew if I went up there, they weren't going to give me the spot. So I sent him. And so I signed a lease for 7 months under the name of Angelo Antonio, right? So now we moved in. The owner of the place wanted to meet Angelo Antonio. So he comes upstairs, he stops at the receptionist and said, I have not had the pleasures. His name was John LeRae. He said, I haven't had the pleasures of meeting Angelo Antonio. So they buzzed me and said that John LeRae was at the front and he wanted to meet you. He walked in my office. He says, I think I'm in the wrong office. I'm here to meet Angelo Antonio. I said, here I am in living color. Well, this man must have turned colors because he had absolutely no understanding that I was Black. But I signed it for 7 years, understanding that that may take place. That's how I entered into the music industry.
So when you think about it, you said Before I Let Go, this brand new book, and it's a wonderful maze on how to navigate success. You've navigated. What do you think the three keys of success for your vision for those young individuals who want to think about hiring a publicist? But I think you're more than a publicist. You have a vision for a person that they can't see, but you can see.
I think that the first thing before aligning yourself to any team member that you bring on board is that it has to be a relationship. I believe in courtships. I believe that you must court somebody for 6 or 7 months to see if they are for you and about you. Look, I spell friend E-N-D. Split the word friend in the middle, and what do you get? E-N-D, end of a friend. And particularly in the music industry, you got to know you have no friends in the music industry. So if you're going to come and be a part of my life, be a part of my career, you're going to orchestrate and supervise and manage my career, I want to court you first. You got 6 months for me to court you. You passed it. Now, while you're courting me, or while we're courting each other, I'm still paying you your percentage. It's like a month-to-month apartment, a lease, right? Now, after you pass that 6 months, that means that I have some bit of trust in you. Now I think it's time for us to go into an engagement. Now I want to see what you're able to do. I want to see what your overall mobility, what your energy is like, what your alignments is like. What can you actually do for me? I'm giving that another 6 months. Now, whatever you go to do, I'm going to make sure that you get your percentage. I'm going to pay you. Now, after those 6 months, is either I'm not going to hire you or I'm going to hire you. And now we're going to get married because now it's marriage time. But when you get married in the industry to a manager, you have to really understand where he or she is coming from. You have to understand if they can get, what do they possess over mobility? What's their track record? What can they do for me? Are they on the same level with me so that we can all strategize together and get to the next level of life? This is what the importance is for me, is grabbing that team. Then I can seek and find. I don't read bios, man, and I don't listen to music. I ain't never sold a record a day in my life. I sell talent. That's what I sell, and that's what I'm going to always continue to do. So I want to make sure that we are clear, and I want you to be open and honest with me. I'm going to talk to your mother. I'm going to talk to your best friend. I'm going to talk to people that's in your life because I don't read bios. I can instantly have a conversation with a journalist based on my conversations that I've had with people that is in your assortment of life. I really want to take, each artist has a special strategy that I have to come up with. I want to make sure that I understand each and every single person that comes within my office doors. I'm not just going to take you because of the money. I'm going to take you because I really believe in you. And then I want you to be able to take the chance with me. What I do is not instant coffee. What I do is brewed coffee. I don't like nothing instant because when it's instant, that means it's going to go away as fast as you got it. But when you're talking about brewed coffee, you're talking about granulations, you talk about that, you smell it, it's a whole nother kind of taste. And it takes time. It takes time. It's very much the case with Mary J. Blige. It was not instant coffee. We didn't like each other when we first met each other. But as time went through, I remember the first time that I met her, it was really, she came an hour and a half late. And I had other things to do. My mind was, I got paid already. She came off of the elevator with this big old husky guy. I said, okay, I guess that's supposed to be the bodyguard. She said, is Angelo here? Not I said, are you speaking about Mr. Ellerbee? She said, whatever. I said, no, I ain't gonna be too many whatevers. So I said, I am Angelo Ellerbee. I prefer Mr. Ellerbee. I said, this is what we're going to do. We ain't doing this today. Let's try it tomorrow. The next day, she was 2 hours early. And it was smooth sailing from there on. How you start is how you finish. You want respect. You can't go raising your child at 15 years old. You got to raise them from infancy so they respect and they understand who you are, what you bring to the table, how much they love you, and how best do they want you.
You
That's the
know,
real time.
right. And so before I let go, come on, help me out.
Let me tell you something.
You come
This
up with this
book,
wonderful title. You have DMX who trust you. You have individuals who trust you. Why before I let go?
because I've been so blessed, man. I tell people each and every single day I'm romantically in love with Angelo Ellerbee. I love me. And as I go through life and I've seen so many disappointments with those incarcerated, with the homeless, with HIV and AIDS victims, it bothers me. It really, really bothers me. When I walk in the streets and I see people sitting outside and below temperatures with a blanket on in a box, and I see them eating out of garbage cans, it bothers me. It bothers me when a mother and a father puts their children out because they don't understand their sexuality. And they're in the streets selling their bodies in order to survive. Incarcerated, we have a president that is a president of the United States of America, has 34 counts and federal counts against him. But a brother, brown or black, can come out of jail and they perish. They can't do anything because they have all these legal things that are against them. The book is to set an example. I take the Mary J. Bliges, the Alicia Keys, the Dionne Warwicks. All these people went through some of the same things that these people who were laying in the streets and at a disadvantage. I use my celebrity stardom to give examples of what people went through and how they have to get through. It's not about winning every race. It's about staying in the race. Eventually you have to win. So I use all of the star-studded people to draw in that consumer that may be in pain and misery, that may be going through what they're going through. Before I let you go, I want you to understand that you're one of God's children. Before I want to let you go, I want you to understand that you can come from incarceration, and that you can be great. Before I let you go, you don't have to get your ass beat by your husband or by your wife and think that you cannot exist in another place in another time and get your own. So yeah, that's what this book is about. I know everybody thinks that, oh, because I'm in the entertainment industry, that I'm writing a book about, no, I'm writing a book about everybody. The book is not for, it's for everybody. It's for everybody to learn by and to grow by and to understand they get chances and to be humanistic across the world.
That's so beautiful. Tell me a story about DMX that you want the world to know and that they can find in this book.
You know, I really think that the impression of of DMX, is that he didn't give a damn, that he had an addiction. He didn't care. And that is the wrongest story for anyone to ever believe. I worked for him for 5 years, 6 years. I started as his publicist and then got into his management and the president of his record label, Bloodline. And Earl and I went through what we went through. Every time I would say to him, man, did you pray today? And he would say, no, man, can we pray? And I'm like, yeah. That was the only thing that would calm him down. But for 5 years, every Friday, he would call me up and say, did you pay my tithes? I said, no, yeah, Earl, I paid your tithes. This is what this man did. Churches all over the world, he would give donations, large donations. and particularly in Mount Vernon, New York, where his grandmother was, because he was really raised by his grandmother. There was an institution called the Mary Ellen Foundation, which was his grandmother's name. Every year he used to host about to 1,000 families. Did not have Christmas, or he would buy like 50 bikes. He would buy like, oh my God, sneakers. We had so many sneakers in the office once. I think it was maybe 1,000 pair of sneakers, hoodies. And sometimes he would show up, sometimes he wouldn't show up. But those presents was there. Then full food, catered food every single year. The man had a heart of gold. And people always want to judge a book by its cover. No, you need to read those pages. Because the pages of his life, if somebody wrote the truth about his life, you would see that he was an incredible, incredible human being.
Super.
And that's why, before I let you go, and I think another one of the reasons for writing the book is people like Earl, because God kept giving him chances, and look at the growth. 25 million records here, 19 million records here, putting butts in movie theaters to the sum of some 8 major motion pictures.
Right.
Look at the opportunities that he gave to me.
Well, I want to make sure that we all go out and support Angelo, wonderful, phenomenal individual. Thanks for all you have done for both the industry, for the artist, and for humanity, allowing us to see the humanity and the love and the God in each of us. But thanks for also guiding so many into places and spaces that without your vision of them, that they would have never seen. I'm Munson Steed. This is Meet the Author. Be sure to go out, grab your copy before I let go. Angelo, it's been great. I miss you.
I appreciate you, brother.
All
Hey,
you.
I'm coming to Atlanta. I'm coming to Atlanta to do some book signings from the
Okay.
28th to the 30th. I want to see you at one of those book signings. I'm going to send it over to your people to make sure you get there to one of these book signings.
All right. Thank you, brother. I
I
appreciate it.
thank you, my man. I appreciate you and your team. Thank you very much.